Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey, and Brock Bowers. You're probably wondering what all these names have in common, and the answer to that would be that they all significantly outperformed Marvin Harrison Jr. in their rookie season. But what caused this? Why did Marvin have such a disappointing rookie season? To answer this question, we have to break it down into 3 different parts, starting off with his on-field play. Week 1 against the Buffalo Bills, Marvin's lined up at the top of the screen against Christian Benford, and this is straight up man-to-man. Marvin's going to be running a slant, but you're going to see how poor of a route he runs. He chops his feet way too much trying to get the diamond release, but once he lifts his right foot in the air like this route is over. Benford's able to get his hands on him and there's nowhere Marvin can go. Here's another play from week 1 where he's lined up against Benford, again in man coverage, and this route's a little better, but I still feel like he was just trying to do too much. Also, not a great pass by Kyler. Now here's a play that we could just chalk up to week 1 jitters. Harrison's just going to be running a curl route. He's going to sit in the soft spot of the zone, and this is just absolutely not a pass that you can drop. Fast forward to week 2, and here's Marvin lined up against Tre'Davious White. Marvin's on a comeback route, and along with not being able to fight through contact on this play, he just looks slow. And being slow was an issue for him, which is really odd because we were told that he has 4.3 speed, yet in week 1, he was one of the slowest receivers we've seen in the last 2 years. And yes, you're reading that right. Out of 1,730 receivers that ran a route over the last 2 seasons, only 31 of them were slower than Marvin week 1. But was he actually that bad in week 1? Yes, but don't worry because he came out in week 2 looking like a completely different player. Here's Marvin lined up at the top of your screen. The Rams are going to be in a cover 3 look right here, and the Cardinals are going to send Marvin on a seam. This is the perfect route to beat cover 3. And what does Marvin do right here? He absolutely torches Tre'Davious White and makes a beautiful catch. This is the physicality at the catch point I love to see out of Marvin. Here's Marvin again lined up at the top of your screen against Tre'Davious White, but this is not going to be man coverage, and the Cardinals are going to be running a PA boot, and they're going to have Marvin on a crosser, and I absolutely love what Marvin does on this play. This is such a smart play, especially from a player only in his 2nd career game. The second that he sees Cameron Curl is literally facing him, he realizes there's no way that he's going to be able to catch him over the top and just cuts it upfield, and then it's a track meet. And Marvin looked much faster than he did in week 1. And then he proceeds to make one of the most athletic plays we've seen from any player this season. This reach is seriously superhuman. But this right here might be my favorite play from Marvin all season long. You're going to see how smart of a player he is. Marvin's lined up at the top of the screen again, and the Rams are in a cover 2. But off the jump, the Rams are able to get pressure and disrupt Kyler, but Harrison sees that Kyler escaped the pocket. He recognized it was cover 2, and he comes back to the quarterback just for a split second. This is enough to get Kinchins to bite, and once he does, Marvin is able to take advantage. And if Kyler wasn't under so much pressure, this is a touchdown. This is another play that I liked from Marvin because it shows that he can play through physicality. I watched hours of his film, and one of the biggest things that I noticed was he's not very good at dealing with contact, whether it be at the catch point or during his routes. But we've seen that he's bulked up in the offseason, and he showed some flashes of being able to be physical during the season. So long term, I'm not necessarily concerned. This is going to be another man coverage look the Rams are giving Marvin, and there's nothing special about this route at all, but it's a great physical catch. Here's another route that I liked from Marvin later on in the season. He's lined up on the bottom of the screen against Shaquille Griffin in man coverage. He had a nice simple release. He didn't try to do too much. He has Griffin exactly where he wants him before he makes his break. He's going to plant his left foot and give him a head fake, which opens up this dig route perfectly for him, and he makes a nice catch. Here's Marvin lined up in man coverage one-on-one with Christian Gonzalez. He's going to be running a fade from the inside, and he runs a beautiful route. He has Gonzalez beat, and this is where I'd like to see Marvin improve. I want him to come down with these passes. And against the Seahawks, Tariq Woolen knew that Marvin Harrison didn't like dealing with contact, and he was putting his hands on him pretty much the entire game. And Marvin finished with less than 50 yards. But that doesn't mean he didn't have his moments. He still showed flashes in this game of having potential elite route running. Here he is at the top of the screen lined up against Woolen, and he's going to be running a curl route, but he does a great job of selling vertical and stopping on an absolute dime. Alright, so we've established that he's an inconsistent route runner with flashes of becoming an elite route runner, and that he needs to work on his physicality. But overall, he was better than his production would say. So why did he struggle so much to put up numbers? Well, that brings us into part 2. 2, which is the quarterback play, aka Kyler Murray. The Vikings are in a cover 1 man. They're going to have one linebacker over the middle and a safety up top, but aside from that, straight man coverage. The Cardinals are running a play action. Marvin Harrison's going to be on a dig. This play is the problem with Kyler. He cannot throw with anticipation. Just look at this. He has a clean enough pocket. He has Marvin open. You need to let this ball go. But instead, he's too paranoid about the pressure, holds on for too long, and throws the ball way too late. Arguably, the biggest issue with this Cardinals offense is Kyler's inability to throw on time and with anticipation. You're going to see right here, Marvin Harrison is on a hitch route lined up against Stephon Gilmore. And if you're going to pass it to him, you have to release this ball as he's coming out of his break. Let's watch this again. This ball has to be out of his hands right now. But Kyler had poor footwork on this play. He had to reset his feet with no pressure at this moment, and that threw off the timing on this play. Look at this. Marvin's almost out of his break and this ball is still in Kyler's hands. And that gives Gilmore enough time to recover and this play's over. The Vikings are going to be sending pressure right here with 3 high safeties, and the Cardinals are going to be running a levels concept with Marvin on an out and Michael Wilson on a corner. And the Cardinals pick this blitz up perfectly, but Kyler doesn't give Marvin a chance and checks it down to James Conner instead. But on this play, I'd like Kyler to try to hit Marvin here. You cannot ask for better protection. Cam Bynum is not going to beat him to the sideline, and Michael Wilson is pretty much blocking off Byron Murphy from being able to get down to the route. It's not the end of the world. These plays happen with quarterbacks, but it's such a recurring theme all season long. But the biggest reason for Marvin's lack of production in his rookie season is no other than Drew Petzing, the Cardinals offensive coordinator. Simply put, he did not know how to use Marvin at all. There is just no way that you can let a quote flawless prospect who played pretty well on the field in his rookie season to get less than 900 yards. But what was really happening? How was he utilizing Marvin so poorly? Well, for starters, nearly 26% of his routes were go routes, which was the second highest mark in the league. He didn't get a single target the entire season behind the line of scrimmage. He didn't get a single screen pass. But the craziest stat to me is that he only had 1 target the entire year off of a pre-snap motion play. This play right here pretty much sums up Petzing's scheme for Marvin Harrison for the entire season. But Marvin is 6'3", 209 pounds, and he is fast, despite what happened week 1. Give him the ball in space. Marvin's not the same yak receiver as Neighbors at all, but give him some plays behind the line of scrimmage like the Giants did for Neighbors all season long. I think this is a make or break season for both Drew Petzing and Kyler Murray. I wouldn't be surprised if they are both no longer an Arizona Cardinal after this season, but they are. So what does this mean for Marvin Harrison going into his second year? Well, pretty much one of 2 things can happen. Kyler Murray improves this season as a pure passer. He plays with more timing. He's able to throw with anticipation, along with Drew Petzing being able to adapt to modern offenses using Marvin Harrison in motion, getting him more involved in the underneath game. And I mean, this is all a possibility, but what's more likely to happen is their passing offense looks nearly identical to what it did last year, since this team pretty much made no offensive changes. And then Marvin would put up another season where his on-field play was much better than his stats would indicate. Kyler Murray potentially gets traded. Drew Petzing better get fired, and that leaves the Cardinals entering another rebuild. But I am a fan of what Marvin Harrison put on the field in his rookie season, but for the fantasy football guys out there, due to his situation, I'm just not sure I would draft him this year. But then again, maybe this offense adapts. And if you're interested in seeing the direction that the current NFL is headed in, click this video right here.